Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me. You are always most welcome. So today we have a bevy, a feast of salamanders of all things. Now, the salamander was one of these very unusual, rather perhaps fanciful, advanced technology fighters, a jet-powered fighter, right at the end of World War II. The High Command in Germany called this one, nicknamed it the Volksjäger, the People's Fighter. But I think it was the manufacturers who gave it the code name Salamander. We're going to talk about this kit. This is the Revell 132 kit. They're numbered 04723. Very kindly loaned, as all the items you're going to see today, loaned to us by our good friend from North Yorkshire, Paul Hunter. And I should just mention that something that he quipped to me in one of his communications, which was something I'd sort of overlooked. And he said, 2 weeks ago we had the natter, we had a natter, and then we had another natter when we'd looked at his books, and we had these two kits, one which he gave me as a gift, which is very kind of him, and the other one was the Revell 148th natter. Now that video with the Revell and the Bren gun, the 1/72 scale, that's got over 8,000 views and counting. Now, considering the type of video that it is, it's a very high view count. Oh, 3-4 times what you'd expect normally, in fairness. If you look at my channel, you can see what I'm talking about. Normally we get, if it's a Matchbox, an interesting one, it can get 5 to 10,000, one of the bigger ones, for example. They do very well, but it's unusual for a Revell to be quite so popular, so hats off to Paul. That's great success for him and me there. And it's certainly nice that people enjoyed the subject matter. Obviously thought it was very interesting. So we're going to have some more of his subject matter. We're going to talk about the salamander today, and we've got a treat for you because we have got some nice notes where he's actually written me a script, so I don't have to do anything. I was able to have a lie-in today. And we've got a book, the HE162. I have to say, weirdly on the front of this book it's got a twin jet engine version, another variant they're obviously planning. We won't go into the book in that much detail because it's a lot of just diagrams mainly, but there are some interesting photos and worth a look. But the most interesting of all, we've got a real blast from the past. Something I've never seen it before. We've got the frog salamander. Frog, which for those of you that don't know, originally stands for flies right off the ground, and they call the company Frog. And it's a 172 example of the kit. I don't know if it gives any date on this particular one. I'm just looking. Oh yes, Rovex, of course. Rovex was the holding company. Made in Great Britain. I'm guessing this is from around about 1976 to 80, something like that, even though it doesn't say. Anyway, it is fixed on with staples. Now Paul has said, no, you must open it, but we don't want to cut it. So what we'll do is we'll carefully unstaple that, I think, with some tools, and I will show you what a frog looks like. Yes, it really does say 19 pence. So what's that, about 23 euro cents or something, 24 euro cents. What's that, about 40 cents in the States, something like that, US dollars. Wow. Anyway, that's going to be absolutely brilliant. So I'll get to that later, I think, because that's a bit of a novelty. Definitely something we haven't seen before. But we've got this nice, I think we're going to start off with the straight into the big one. Maybe rather than do that, actually, no, tell you what we'll do. Look at the book first, and we'll have a little read of Paul's notes to kick us off. And as I say, I can sort of mentally, I can just put my feet up while I read this out. Have a rest. Let's have a look what he says. So he's saying, here we go, we've got the Volksjäger Salamander 132, and we've got the 72nd scale frog. Here are some fun facts regarding the HE162, which I think you might want to include in your video. Absolutely. First of all, this is an interesting fact I didn't know. The nose wheel of the HE162, and I'll show you a photo of this because it's actually quite germane, and I will come back to this in more detail, but we'll just zoom in for this. The nose wheel, which is in the book here, he says it is in fact, would you believe, it is the same as the tail wheel in a Junkers 88. Well, I never knew that. It's quite interesting, isn't it? So obviously they were a bit like we modelers do. they were obviously scratching about in the sort of the parts bin at the end of the Second World War, thinking, well, we can't afford to completely redesign a tail wheel. Fair enough, you don't need to, do you? But there you go, so it's from the Junkers 88. He says, inside the cone of the engine, we'll just zoom in on this one, so you know what you're talking about. It's the jet engine, of course, which I think is the same one that was used in the ME262. And if you look carefully at this engine intake, this is the interesting part we're talking about in here. He says, inside the cone of the BMW 003E1 engine, there is a 2-stroke starter engine. Also inside the engine front cone is a 3-pointed structure to allow attachment of a rope to start the 2-stroke starter engine itself. Good gracious. How bizarre. Okay. He goes on to say that the main... That's interesting, I didn't know either. Let's just zoom you out for this. The main gear on the aircraft is actually straight from the Messerschmitt ME109, which I didn't know. Let's just see if we can get you a photo of that. I'm sure there'll be one in here somewhere, because that's worth seeing then, isn't it? I just want to get my head around it. Is it a tricycle, isn't it? Oh, yes. It's obviously in a different configuration, but the actual gear he means and the wheels. There is a shot of it here, look. It looks like it's just retracting where my thumb is at the top. See it? There we go. It does look very familiar, those wheels and tyres, don't they? So obviously it goes up in a different way. They're very much closer together than they are in a 109 when they're very splayed out. Oh, there's a better shot of it. There we go. There we are. Well, I never knew that. So you can see that they are hunting around and scavenging for these parts for the Salamander to try and find a readily available supply, which there was very little readily available for them at the end of 44, early 45. Should just mention as well, when we're talking about the viewings on this, this is very odd, I have to say. I don't know what you think of it, but I mentioned that we got 8,200 views on this Natter that we did the review on for the Revell and the Bren gun, and we had the book as well later. We also had John Bevan. He also sent us some kits. He sent us the Mistel 5, which is the Arado jet drone with a lot of munitions packed in the nose, with the Salamander riding on the top. Now go back to what I was saying about viewings, just to explain how unusually popular that Natter was. John Bevan's, maybe the Salamander's not going to be as popular, but I just managed everybody's expectations. We got about 800 views on that, which I thought was quite low, and I thought it was quite an interesting aircraft, and it's a nice kit and everything. But maybe the Natter was something that really caught people's imagination. But we'll try to turn that round. Maybe we can get this to be a very popular video. You'll watch it and you'll realise John Bevan's kit is also incredibly interesting, and you should go back and look at the Mistel 5 as well. Anyway, digressing. Now then, back to the notes. So, 1JG1, the first fighter wing, began to score kills in mid-April 1945, and better hurry up because they only got a month. Went on to lose 13 of the Salamanders and 10 of their pilots. Now, I did read this somewhere else just this morning. I think I was on Wikipedia or some other resource I was looking at, and it said that I know what it is. I'll come back to it in a second. There were flameouts with the engine and sporadical structural failures. Only 2 of the 13 losses were actually shot down. It says taken from Wikipedia. No, I think it was when I flicked through the book that I remember this. Let me just show you this in the book, rather than go through this bit by bit. I think you'll find this absolutely fascinating. So he's absolutely right, because here there's actually a very unusual thing for the end of World War II. They're actually filming a test flight, and you can see, if you look very carefully, doing it a bit more. If you look very carefully, it's doing a barrel roll, and basically the starboard. It is the starboard side, isn't it? Yes, the starboard. It says here. The leading edge of its starboard wing disintegrated. Well, I'm sure that's wrong, because that's not the leading edge, that's the trailing edge. So there's something gone wrong. I think the elevator's failed at the wingtip. Because it does have the elevator out there, doesn't it? Yeah. I think the elevator's failed at the wingtip, and if you see the sequence on the left going down, and you can see it's completely failed on that bottom shot, and then over on this shot, you can see it's still rolling, and the elevator has now come away and then the whole wing fails. Then the whole outer wing fails, and it looks like the aircraft then breaks up. And it says here that this test pilot, Gotthold Peter was his name, Peter being his surname, and he said he was doing a test flight on the 10th of December 44, and the second flight of the prototype at Vienna, and he made a high speed straight pass at low altitude. The leading edge, it says again the leading edge, it's not the leading edge in that picture, but anyway, not the way they've shown it anyway. The leading edge of the starboard wing came away, removing the wing end cap in the process and the aileron. Okay. That's not visible. Okay, I accept that then, that's right. So it's just that they explained it a bit clearer than they did it below the picture. So the leading edge comes off, takes off the tip, and then the aileron comes off. And then we have a massive structural failure of the wing, complete failure. So he says, takes off the wing end cap and the aileron in the process. The aircraft then went into an unrecoverable roll and crashed beyond the airfield boundary, killing Peter and destroying the aircraft. A large audience had been gathered to watch the flight, including Kessler, Diesling and the Luftwaffe test chief, Edgar Peterson, and it was all filmed by Helmut Kudicki, member of Galan's staff sent to record the event. Oh dear, this is not good, is it? That's jinxed it, haven't they, basically? At this time, nobody had any idea what might have caused the crash. But during meetings in the following days, there was speculation that Peter had attempted to perform a manoeuvre at too high speed in which was exceeding the aircraft's structural limits. Oh. In the immediate aftermath, therefore, Kessler ordered that the wings must be reinforced. Well, there you go. Not nice at all, is it? Not nice at all. Another example of the extreme dangers of being a test pilot, I'm afraid. Anyway, he goes on to say, Paul, one experienced Luftwaffe pilot who flew it called it a first-class combat aircraft. Eric Winkle Brown, very famous man indeed, of the Fleet Air Arm, he flew a total, which is a world record, 486 different types of aircraft, and said the HE-162 had the lightest and most effectively balanced, aerodynamically balanced controls of any aircraft he'd ever experienced. So obviously that was unfortunate, this incident you've just seen, but it kind of looks right. It doesn't look stupid, this one, does it? It doesn't look like it's a suicide machine. You know, you can imagine that if they've got the structural stuff right, there's no reason why it can't be successful. It takes off conventionally and it lands conventionally. You know, it doesn't look like an absolute death trap. I don't think it has ejector seat. We'll come to that later, I think, but I'm not sure. Anyway, there we go. Very interesting notes from Paul. Thanks very much indeed. Very pertinently done because it fits in with the book. So I might as well, as I say, just flick through the book just briefly. It's quite a long and in-depth book, this, and it has got some interesting pictures of the German, I'll skip over that, of Hitler, but the German High Command and all the various sort of concepts that they had for the aircraft. But I think what they were trying to achieve, of course, was a simple, easy-to-control aircraft with one jet engine because they were short of resources. And they wanted it to be light, they wanted it to be fast, fairly manoeuvrable and sustainable in the way that the Netta wasn't, obviously, or the ME-163. So they're using all these parts we've talked about, the front gear from the Ju-88 and the main gear from the Messerschmitt 109. The tailplane, quite an advanced aerodynamic design, you know, it's got some, zoom in for these pictures, look at me. Some very interesting elements to it, of course, as a design. Like this V tailplane that it has. It's quite nice, isn't it? It's quite an advanced concept, and of course it spurned many others. A lot of these what-if aircraft. Look at the shot there inside the cockpit. At least they're not expecting people to lie in a prone position this time, or what was the other one? Lying face down prone, and the other one was lying kneeling in a kneeling. I mean, we saw that one, didn't we, in the Natter? One of the concepts was that the pilot would kneel. Looks like he's praying. You need to pray when you're flying in one of those, I can tell you. Anyway, there's various shots here of the test flights and the mock-ups and the models. Alexander Lippisch had a little bit of input into it. I have to say that I find this book, it's not the most visually exciting example of a reference book, but it's got a lot of detail. It's got a lot of detail. Some nice shots here at the end of the war where you see the British have got it. It does remind me of the what's the British aircraft I'm trying to think of? They have in the Fleet Air Arm aircraft. Is it the? My mind's gone blank. I'm sure you're looking at this picture and probably thinking the same thing. It conjures up an image of one of our jets. Had a twin intake at the front. Is it Wyvern? No, I can't remember. My memory's gone, I'm afraid. But anyway, obviously that's after the war, and here it's actually seen at Farnborough. And then you've got some shots where it's just been captured by the Americans. This one was at Cassel. The Americans have just come in, and you can see in the background you've got American fighters there as well, actually. What is that American plane? Is it Mustang? Oh, it's a Thunderbolt, I think. Because the Americans used that base, I think, for a while. Yeah, I'm not sure that's the most exciting reference book I've ever seen. I thought that although it was small, I thought that the Osprey book on the Natter was perhaps a bit more fun to read. Imagine the Natter is quite good fun to read about, full stop. It's so crazy. Let's get into the model anyway. So, single jet engine, single pilot, another early fighter for the Germans, trying to defend the Reich. Obviously, didn't work. Too late. Too little. Too late. Had these in the Battle of Britain, maybe Britain would have been in a bit of trouble, I think. Right, let's have a look then. So, just before you oh, what? Can I open the bags this time? Can I? Because I got into trouble with this last time, didn't I? I forgot to ask Paul, and he nearly had a cardiac arrest on the spot. I think I did when I was like, oh yeah, I think it'd be okay. And then when we're watching it live on the live stream, the premiere, he was saying, no, don't open the bags. And I was like, oh, this is filmed a week ago, you know. Too late. Anyway, this time it's fine. He's very kindly said we can open the bags, it's not a problem. And we do it in a very sympathetic way, the sort of blunt end, so to speak. It's actually a very big bag. It's very ethics like this bag, I would say. A bit oversized. Let's go this end then. I'll retape it for him when I'm done. There we go, nice and gentle. Look at that. Getting good at this. Practice, you see. Right. I'll pop that 2 bits in there. No, we're okay. Pop that to the side, see what we have. It's the old school Revell way of doing things, of course, with this one big bag. So what I think we'll do is pop that over there. Separate bag for the clear parts, which is good. Not so good that they just lumped everything else together. I've got to say, it doesn't look too bad at all from a quick visual inspection. Let us see. That's 2004. So, this is Revell instructions, remember, so let us pray. Let's not get too carried away with expectations. Now what I think is good about this at the very off is it clearly has got an engine that you can open up and display, which I didn't realise. That's nice. Yeah, just why did they have to put such a nasty black and white naff photograph in? 2004, it's not exactly the Middle Ages. We could have had a better picture than that. It's not even sharp. No contrast. This is not the finest era of Revell instructions. You've heard me say this a million times, so we'll crack on. Starting with a bit of a sprue tree map. Not that many. Oh yeah, we've all gone Great Wall Hobby. Look, it's all coming apart. Harsh answer, harsh. Let's just separate it out then. We'll come back to the colour call-outs in a minute. So we're going to be building up our JU88. Salamander undercarriage gear. That's the same, of course. So you're building that up. I did notice in the book, by the way, that they made great play in one photograph, which I didn't show you, but it shows a photograph from some distance saying, note the holes in the undercarriage. Well, I had to get a magnifying glass out, it was so far away, you couldn't make it out. Quite why they pointed this out on the photo in question, I don't know. But you remember I showed you another shot where you could see it clearly, actually. But anyway. So, we've got this quite advanced looking, you can notice from the JU88, nose leg, which is mounted into the front bulkhead. You've got like a shock absorber system going in there as well. On the back of that, you've got your this is the ammunition feeder for the cannons, which is common, and we saw that in the other kit, didn't we? The 140, what was it? 148th Salamander, the small one. Yes, the 48th, 72nd, wasn't it? Sorry, I'm getting all muddled up today. 72nd, the one that John Bevan sent us, of course, which came with the Arado. We saw that briefly in there. So this is, yeah, it's got the cannons either side of the front of the cockpit, and this is the. It has like a magazine in there for the cannons, and it also has an ejection chute for, I think, catching all the spent shells. That goes in, and you've got your stick going in here. Then you've got your seat, which looks a bit rudimentary. I guess it's all moulded. Yeah, it's moulded with the seat belts on it, which is okay. It's not a problem. And then you've got a couple of like bit of framework around the outside. Then here we have got the lower part of the seat, which you've just created with that sort of hand grab rail framework piece. That's going to go in here and then be mounted to the back of the seat where you've got the rear bulkhead. Then we've got what looks like it's the pedals. It's quite unusual, this design. Pedals almost up on stalks, it seems. So you're looking at it upside down, of course, and then you turn it the right way up over here, and then your instruments go in. And then we are, what's it saying? Don't cut the nose. Is there more than one nose? See, I just find Revell's instructions of this era very hard to follow. What's it trying to say? Cut it? Yes or no? Question mark. But what does it mean? What's it trying to say there? It's just not awfully clear, to be honest. I'm looking at the parts, that's not helping me. Anyway, we'll move on. Anybody who's built this kit can shout up, feel free. Then you've got your cannons going in. That's good, you actually get the proper cannons look, that's good. And then they go up the tube so you can actually see them. And then you've got your front gear bay. Oh, sorry, it's the main gear bay, actually, there. Then you're mounting in your sort of cockpit surround interior, and then your front wheel well and the stick and the cannon magazine. And that brings the cockpit kind of all together here. Putting in your side instrument controls and switches. Same on the other side. Again, it's got this question mark about whether you want to cut it here. Why would you cut it? It's just not clear what they're trying to say with this question mark. Is it telling you to add weight in the nose? Because I think it will need some. But it's very vague what it's trying to convey there. Am I missing something? What do you think? There's a lot of question marks, and it looks like a craft knife and the nose. As if you were going to cut it to open it up for some reason. But it doesn't really explain why. Or is it to expose the detail? Don't know. I think it is. I think the idea is that you could remove it and just show the front of the, where the detail is for the cannon. I think it's trying to tell you that it's an option, but it's just vague, very vague. Anyway, then you put in your main cockpit. Sorry, this is the main gear bay here, and that's going to go in over here. Oops, there we are. You've also got the instrumentation going on and the pedals. Everything seems to be upside down. It's very odd the way they presented it, actually. But anyway, and then over here you're going to bring your two halves of your fuselage together, trapping everything in. Very cleverly shows and recommends. See, that's clear, isn't it? Telling you to use some modelling tape to hold it together while it glues for 10 minutes. And here it does say, yes, put a weight in if you're not going to open it up, I guess. Not included. It just says not included. Okay, but you need 45 grams of weight. And then over here we've got the doors, which have got the jacks that are going to open up your undercarriage legs. Yeah. So the diagrams aren't the clearest I've seen from Revell. They're almost Chinese in their concepts in these diagrams, but anyway. So basically, yeah, you're going to put in this gear that operates the the landing gear legs. And then here on 18 we've got the actual gear legs themselves. Then we've got the sort of bodywork that goes between the two open bays. Then you've got your wings coming together, and it's recommending you use a peg. So that part of it's clear as a bell, that's good. And then you've got your tail planes, your elevators, with these sort of Lancaster style end plates that it has, with rudders on it. And then you bring all that together, and you have a Salamander starting to look, yeah, quite cool, to be honest. Then we have a completely separate process. We're going to build up the engine. Your intake stator blade ring there at the front, with the cone. This is the bit that has got the two-stroke or four-stroke, do you say, motor in it, which is like a starter motor. You've got your exit pipe at the back. You've got lots of lovely detail in the middle here. Obviously you can have this open, and then you can add even more detail here with the sort of framework and some of the control systems, hydraulic pumps and things, fuel pumps. That really looks good, doesn't it? That could look smashing. Nice bit of detail and a nice wash on some of these parts. That look great. Then you've got your sort of housing here for the engine itself, which you're going to build up, and then you're going to drop the engine in. Look at that, that's looking pretty cool, I'll be honest. That is going to look really, really well. So you obviously got the option here of having it, dropping it in and having it closed, which would be a bit of a waste, or having it open where you can see all the detail of the engine, which would look very good, I think. Then you're putting your two halves of your main gear together, your wheels and tyres. Glue those on, what do they say? You see, again, they show a clock with 9:10 on it. How long are they saying? Are they saying half an hour? It's very vague, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Can you see this? What does that mean in terms of time? Am I missing something? Does it mean a whole hour? Does it mean half an hour? Does it mean wait till 9:10? What does it mean? How long? Why can't it just say? Even if it said in German, you know, as 20 Minuten, it'd be better than with the numbers. You'd know what it meant, but that doesn't tell us a whole lot. And it does it again over here. Curious, isn't it? Very curious. Anyway, there's your main doors. If you're not bothering with your undercarriage, you can just put the main doors on here, and I'm done with it. And then over on, I'm going to reassemble the instructions here. It's not easy to just fold that back. Easy to look at for us. 37. So here we've got. Here we've got the front door, gear door, bay gear door going on, either open or closed. And then we've got the canopy and the windscreen. It's quite an aerodynamic looking thing, isn't it? It's almost a bubble canopy, this. But they always have this thing, don't they, the Germans, where they have to have it open vertically. I don't know why they do that. I suppose the idea is to help you if you have to bail out, because I don't think this one has an ejector seat. And then we've got big pitot head for all the instrumentation on the nose, little radio aerial on the top, what looks like an exhaust gas dump pipe underneath, and then finally we are done. That's the end of it, in fact. So I can just reassemble the instructions for a moment. There we go, and we get straight into the colour callouts, which are here. And very nice it looks too. There we are. RLM 81, 82 and 76, the usual thing, you know. Shows you all your decal positions and stencils. And it's quite a meaty looking, wicked looking thing, isn't it? It looks quick, doesn't it? It doesn't look like it's going to hang around this plane. Did we check what the top speed was? I think it was 540 miles an hour, something like that. Just over 500-ish. Plenty when you're taking on the Mustangs, I think. But of course they just didn't have enough of them. And it was at Lech, Holstein in Germany, May 1945, both of them. And you know, we all know that they were only doing that for a week, basically, and then the war was over. So anyway, you got two schemes here. Two is a three. There's actually a third scheme, so you got another one at Ossau. Okay, there's Ossau at Lech Holstein. And they're all Lech Holstein, they're just Ossau is a different pilot. So you got Pilot Ossau, Oberleutnant Emil Demuth, you've got LG Steiner, or you've got, it doesn't say who that one is, probably didn't have a pilot. Perhaps that was going to be piloted by someone who sadly didn't make it, you know, because they were going to drop it like flies at this point, you know. You know, Thunderbolts and Mustangs coming over and just sweeping the airfields and shooting them up, etc. But they were operational. They did actually shoot down. I mean, it shows them fighting it out with Tempests in the artwork. So they did go operational, these aircraft. We've got some decals here, which doesn't say. Oh yes, it does. It says printed in Italy. So I think that's cartograph. I was going to say it looks like cartograph. It's got that nice quality look about it. Very nice. Yeah, it's really well printed. They're quite a matte finish. Revell. That sounds like the name of somebody's dog to me. It's quite interesting graphics, aren't they, some of these? Look at that. Got what looks like the devil here, flexing his muscles. You've got the dog. Nice graphics, nice decals. No problems with any of that. So, as most of you know, I'm not Revell's greatest fan, but we have seen some decent kits from them. I didn't check the history of this one. I've got a feeling this probably is one of their own, but I'm not sure. If it looks absolutely brilliant, probably isn't on this. Let's have a look then. So, starting with this engine then. Let's have a look-see on this. Wow. Well, I've got to say, first impressions are very good. Seems to me that is reminds me kind of their later kits, like the Eurofighter. Looks nice, really good. I say the Eurofighter, also the ME262 they came out with around about 2018, 2019. There's nothing wrong with that. That's very detailed on the engine. Lots of pipes and plenty of detail there. And then you've got your intake. Is that the intake or the exit? I'm doubting myself now. Oh, so actually, so I think that's what. Yeah, so that sprue is that's the intake, the fat end, and the exit's the thin end. So, yeah. Yes, the intake and exit cone, and with the fan blades behind. That's really nice. I mean, there's no flash on it. It can't be Revell, can it? Can't be. I'm going to have to go and check the scale, mate, so I didn't check it again. You can usually tell, you know, if it's really nice, it's not going to be Revell, I'm afraid. I can't see any Revell stamps on any of the. Is it Dragon or something like that? Because there's no stamping on any of this that says Revell anyway. So I think this is maybe a Reebox. So it has got a Revell stamp on the actual inner wing. Just show you this. Can you see that? Just put my thumb. It says Revell 2004 Revell. Okay. Well, they're claiming it on the wing. So maybe it is. Maybe it is Revell then. Well, we'll keep an open mind. Anyway, back to the parts. We're trying to check the provenance of it, aren't we? Let's have a look at what we got over here. We've got all these lovely parts for the tailplane. The V-tailplane. And again, this is above the normal standard of Revell. There is not that horrendous flash you always get every damn time. And people say, oh no, they're not like that now. Well, I'm sorry, but they most certainly are like that now. I've just been looking at some photographs. I think another reviewer did a non-verbal review, and it was I think it's scale model aircraft. Give him his due. He has very nice photography, but he was reviewing the new Revell 72nd scale F-15E Strike Eagle, and there's some very clever design elements in this new kit. But again, when you see the sprue up close, it's very flashy. There's flash everywhere, you know. It's not okay, it's not as bad as the old version in 48 scale, which was just hideous, but more than you would expect for a brand new tool, 2022. I mean, it looks flashy to me, more than I would expect, and it's got a big seam down the canopy as well. But anyway, so I'm just saying, you know, don't think that Revell are suddenly better, because they're not necessarily. So I'm sure by the time we're all discussing this, watching the video, we'll have all checked on scale mates, which I should have done beforehand. Anyway, but you've got a bulkhead here, that's nice. I mean, this is nice. It's too good to be Revell, this. It's too good. This is going to get a good score, I can feel it coming. This is nice. Look at the detail here. Some nice panel lines, some fine detail on the trailing edge of those rudders. Got like instrumentation, like a wind sensor or pitot of some description, and the same here. That's really nicely done. Very fine, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with any of that. That's just gorgeous. Even the gear legs, which I saw on that F15 I mentioned, they were awful. Moulded well, but just flashy. You know, horrible. Let's have a look at this one now. We've got some serious parts. This is your basically your fuselage. Now that's a nice, I love the way they've done this cut out for the guns as well, underneath the nose. That's been done well. And the panel lines look nice, crisp. It's a cracking kit, this is. It's an absolute beauty. It's the best Revell I've seen for a while, so as I say, it can't be made by them. It's impossible. It's just too good. Okay. So what was that? I thought when I first started telling you about it, I was saying it was the. I was saying that this was the gear bay, but it's clearly not. That's the gear bay there. So what is that? It's only on one side of the aircraft. Is it like a load of hydraulics going in? I think. Must be a load of controls and hydraulics for the. Perhaps the electronics that control the engine. I think so, yeah, because you've got a cover here. Yeah. But again, look at the quality of these parts. Look how finely moulded they are. Look at the lack of flash that we see. There's none. Got a nicely moulded seat there. This is the one that's got the belts all included in the seat mould. Yeah. Very, very nice. Again, some very fine parts here. No flash. No nonsense. Got some really nice detail in the interior of the cockpit sidewall. That's pretty much flawless, that. There's no sink marks. Yeah, there's some ejector pin marks, but none of them are in a place that's going to be seen. There's your here's your magazine. It comes into the cockpit. ME109 fashion. And then you've got these instrumentation bits that go the cockpit sides with all the controls and switches. That's gorgeous. It's really nice. This is a cracker. Much better than I was anticipating this one. This could be a new Revell high. So it can't be Revell, can it? Look at the way they've got the wingtips. Aren't they nicely formed? Look at that. Those are really good. It's really nice. They've got some great detail on the top of the wing here. Again, the way that they've got the flaps and the ailerons, they've really crisply moulded those. Really, really nice. And the little access hatches that they've got on the top of the wing, can you see them? They look a bit like a sink mark or an ejector pin mark, but they're not. They're supposed to be there. That's a lovely bit of moulded. Nice, really good. The wing, top and bottom, fantastic. Yeah, I'm not sure how well they're going to fit together in terms of the quality of the fit. I'm thinking about the wingtip here. Because you've got a tip. Instead, you know, Tamiya wouldn't do that. They'd have the tip that points down. They'd have that moulded on one side only, wouldn't they? To avoid a join. You're going to have a join, aren't you? Two halves. Top and bottom. Same on this side, top and bottom. Anyway, you've got here some great detail on the nose wheel, and then on the main gear bay interior. That's really nice. You got your actuator, like looks like a shocker, isn't it? You've got here for the nose leg. You've got your. I'm just looking at the gear. It actually looks more reminiscent now I see the parts. They look a bit more reminiscent to me of the ME262 wheels and tyres than the 109. Well, have they got that right, I wonder? I'm not sure that that's right. They're beautifully moulded, but they just look like they're from the 262 and not from the 109, which is where they originate from. Anyway, again, lots of small parts. There's zero flash. There's no nasty seams or, you know, not going to need a lot of cleanup on these parts. That's very, very nice indeed. To be completely honest with you, this has blown me away a little bit because yeah, the 172 one that we saw was also nice, but that wasn't quite as clean as this. That was actually did we decide it was a Dragon kit or a, what did we decide it was? Not Dragon, was it? It was Lindbergh, I think it was. There was some debate about it between us. We couldn't quite decide, could we, in the end? It certainly wasn't Revell. I'm not sure this is either. I'm not sure this is either. I don't think they'll tell us because they didn't used to say. It's just too good, isn't it, somehow? It totally exceeds the Revell of that era that we are used to. Not giving anything away on the side. Just a little bit of spiel. One of the most unusual aircraft of World War II. I tell you what, this is like a practicing scene just how small you can make printed word. It's tiny. It is tiny. I can't handle it. It's impossible to read. Help me, help me, help me. That's better. Now I can read it. God, it's really small printing. One of the most unusual aircraft of World War II. Towards the end of 1944, with a very short time, the fighter interceptor had been built, was fast and easy to make. It's another one of these that's got a wooden construction, wasn't it? The specification was a single-seat fighter. It was not issued by the German Air Ministry until September 1944. In just 69 days, Heinkel, Wein Schweikat, had designed the new fighter, built the prototype, and made a successful maiden flight. Although aluminium parts were still used for the fuselage, the wings were constructed in one piece out of wood. I can't quite read it. It's got a bit of a crease. Due to the Air Ministry of the Allies, the whole production was ultimately carried out underground. Between February and April 1945, the total of 116 aircraft were built, most of which were delivered to the Ossau fighter squadron at Lech, Schleswig-Holstein. The notorious fuel shortage at the end of the war prevented the extensive use of the aircraft. The last one took to the air on the 4th of May 1945 and ended by shooting down a Hawker Typhoon. Wow, very sporting, is it? Well, nice to see it in the end. That's about the toughest print I've ever seen. Oh my god, that is literally the smallest print I think I've ever read. It's like an eye test and I've failed. Anyway, so where are we with this one? So let's just bring our thoughts together. I'm just going to bring the parts back together so we can also talk about the other one. That, in fairness, I think it's a very good representation. I mean, there's no panel lines on the wings because there isn't. It's wood, you see, so it's a bit like the Mosquito. That has totally blown me away. That is way, way better than I imagined when I was opening that bag. I think the instructions are rubbish, and I think the box presentation is quite poor. I think it's a solid 9 out of 10. With the better instructions, it would be 10 out of 10. Perhaps I'm being a bit harsh. Perhaps even 9.5 is fair. That's amazing. That's a really nice kit. Really beautiful. So, pop it back in its little bag, and we will move on to something that's from a bygone era. So I'm going to say, I think 9.5 is perhaps just too generous. I'm going to stick at 9. I think that's my instinct. But, you know, compared to what I normally feel about Revell kits, if that's indeed what it is, then I'm afraid it has really done very well indeed. It's an excellent score and an excellent kit. I'm very reluctant to return this to its owner. What happens with the Royal Mail? Things just disappear. I'm getting nervous now. I can feel another heart attack coming in. Right, let's pop that in there gently as we can. Beautiful little kit actually. Oh, we didn't do the clear parts. How remiss of me. Now then, do we need to take them out of the bag? I think I shouldn't really. Don't think I will, but I'll zoom you into them. I sort of missed this because it was sitting with the frog kit. Does it have a horrible seam down the middle like the F-15? I don't think it does. No, it does not. So that just proves the point that I've heard people say, oh, they have to have a seam down them because it's the way they manufacture it. No, they don't. There's no seam on this one. That's absolutely great. Again, stunning. Nice windscreen. No seam or scratch on that. That's great. Well, I've got to say, that's one of my favourite Revell kits so far, apart from the ones like the MiG Foxbat and others where they've actually just reboxed an ICM kit or similar, you know. We'll have to just dig out and check the provenance on the kit because it's almost too good to be true, isn't it? If that's genuine Revell, then quite where they went wrong, you know, a bit later with some of the more modern ones, don't know. So, 9 out of 10. Excellent, excellent, excellent. What about this? Let's go back to the future or just back to the past. I think we're talking here about, and again we should have checked on scale notes, but this has got to be late 70s. Mid-late 70s, 19p sort of gives it away. In fact, that sounds like it might be early 70s to me, maybe 72, 73, something like that. So we've got the 162. We have, I mean, they presented it in quite a decent way. It's as good, if not better, than the Airfix of the era, which were also in bags. And we've got Dermouth Staffel Captain. Oberleutnant Dermouth Staffel Captain. That's a quite a name, isn't it? And you've actually got, I think, 2 of the variants that we may have just seen in the Revell in terms of markings. But yeah, multilingual assembly instructions. There you go. Made in Great Britain by Rovex Limited. Down to you and me as Frog. So, why don't we just see if I can maybe work some magic on this. I know I can do it. I'm very careful with my Tamiya diamond file. If I get these staples out carefully, I think I'm going to need the magnifiers again. You can all just talk amongst yourselves for a moment while I do this. Quite prepare myself for the vid, did I really? Don't want to damage it for him because it's something quite unique because of its age. Let's do this like a safe breaker almost, picking a lock. I think we're in. I think we're in. We in? We are. This is going to be something quite interesting, to put it mildly. Yep, we're in. We're in business. I can always just staple and you staple it, can't I? Try and get through the right hole if I can. It's not as easy as it looks. There we go, there's one. And then just this one to go. I think we're being in seconds. Ocean's 11. Breaking into the vault. Right, we're in business. Let's see what we got. Right over there. Let's zoom in on this. So, 19p. The 1970s is back with us. Look at that. Frog. Oh, what are they going to tell us? Okay, so it's got do not cement. Nice clear instructions, very straightforward. There we are. Going too much on top. There we go. So it's pilot and seat, tailplane is just going on, putting on your main gear, There's 2 of those, that doesn't make that totally clear, I have to say. Then you're going to glue the top and bottom of the wing. And you can see that what I was talking about in the Revell kit about avoiding the seam, they've avoided it here. So Frog were not silly, were they? They've gone and avoided that completely. They've got an inner part to the wing underneath, and then the rest of it's all in one piece to avoid any seams. Then you're going to stick your pilot into his cockpit area, and it's telling you to cut out, fairly clear this, cut out because there's going to be a stand. A stand. By God, really? Well, we've talked about it, haven't we, you see? Others were doing stands, not just Matchbox and Airfix at the time. And there it is. Now, why can't we have this again? And now I'm just repeating myself, but I think we're all in agreement, aren't we? These, at this scale, there should be a stand with it. Why not? Even at 48 scale, there should be a stand, I think. Here we go. See it? Look at that. So you've got a 2-piece stand. It's going to go into that hole there, so you just need to cut it out. And then you're going to just pop on your... Sorry, I forgot to explain that the engines are it's just all one piece with the fuselage, which is a bit of a shame really, but anyway, we'll see what the parts are like. Popping your tails and your wings on, and then you've got your ancillary parts like your cockpit and your gear going in, and your gear doors, and then... Didn't tell you to put any nose weight in, did it? Yes, it did tell you to put some nose weight in here. So they've got the bases covered, haven't they? And then here we're just being told you need to cut, if you want to have the cockpit closed, you have to cut the little lip off, which is obviously the bit that makes it hold open, the hinge. And again, if you're having the gear up and you're going to have it on the stand, which is exactly what you can do with this kit of course, then you need to close your gear doors. And that is that. So it's fairly straightforward. Excellent, isn't it? Let's see what the parts are like then, shall we? It's going to be very interesting, I've got to say. It's just a regular bag, folded, very simple packaging, in the Airfix style of the early 70s and late 60s. And here we go. Right, first of all, we have got some decals. These are not printed by Cartograph, I'm pretty sure. And then there's not a lot of them. But you do get the Nazi swastika, which of course is true of the era, like it or not. And then we've got a little bit of squadron insignia, and that's that. And they're actually in very good shape, those. I mean, they've stood the test of time a lot better than Matchbox do. That's Matchbox's big weakness, of course. Now then, we have got 4 sprues, yeah, well 5 if you include the clear part. Why is there only 1 clear part? That's odd. There's only 1 clear part. Where's the other bit? Is it not in the bag? Oh, it's still in the bag, that's why. Loose. It's loose. It's the windscreen. There we go. We'll start with that then. We'll start with these clear parts. I'll stick it on my hand like so. Oh! Don't drop it, scratch it. Right, there we are. So we've got the clear windscreen at the front, and then the main canopy, and it's got this little lip that you have to cut off if you want to have it closed. I think this would look pretty good on the stand, to be honest, just flying. I think it would be really cool at this scale. Why not? Yeah, it's nice. Nothing wrong with that. Nice and clear, the parts, no seam. Good enough. Good enough. Then we have got the wing. Now it is a bit flashy, I don't know if you can see that. It's a bit flashy on the tip. See that? Yeah. Yeah, there's a bit of flash. It's not the cleanest edge. Bit of a halo around it, you know. But look at the pilot. Look at this. He's like, looks like the Michelin Man, Bibendum. And he's definitely got some problems because he has a hole in his stomach. Yeah. I think he may have been hit by some heavy artillery from a Mustang or something. Doesn't look too well, does he? That's the inner wings that I mentioned, because obviously that goes in this recess underneath here. But it's nicely conceived, and panel lining's a bit faint, you know, and we've got some raised panel line area here as well, which I'm not too sure about. But it's not bad, is it? This is, you know, conceived in the 60s, this kit for sure. Here we've got the main fuselage side, complete with the engine. Not sure about the way that they've actually joined this. I think it's a bit integrated in a way that makes it look a bit over, not quite right somehow, a little bit over merged, if you know what I mean. It didn't seem to look like that on the bigger kit, did it? But anyway, there's your gun port, your cannon there, and you've got your tailplane here, and then you got your undercarriage parts there. But it's yeah, it's okay. On the other side, we have got opposite side of the fuselage, and then we've got the stand here. This is the actual neck of the stand, swan neck, which is cool. And you've got various small components there, parts of the engine, intake. You don't get a lot of detail, it has to be said. And then last but not least, you've got again the other wing tip, and again we've got this typical frog flashiness, which I've talked about in the past but not shown you. Now you can see I wasn't making it up. Not too bad. I mean, you know, sanding stick will sort that. 5 minutes with a sanding stick and it'll be fine. Then you've got your stand. Hey, this is something that we all want today, isn't it? So you've got that, obviously goes with your swan neck piece behind. That goes in it, and then you've got your aircraft on the stand, no problem. And then just a couple of other parts, the end plates and rudders for the tailplanes, and then you got your cockpit pilot seat as well. So there we have it. That is a Frog Salamander. I've got to be honest, it's not as bad as I remember. Somebody was saying to me, I don't know if it was Paul or I think it was somebody else. Somebody else was saying, Frog were fantastic, I'm better than Matchbox. I'm saying, I didn't actually say it, but I was thinking, don't be ridiculous. I would say that, wouldn't I? Don't be ridiculous. But he was basically making the point that they weren't that bad, you know. And to be honest, I think this chap who made the comment was saying something along the lines of they were as good if not better than Airfix at the time. I think he's probably right, because that's not, you know, that's not bad in fairness. So what sort of score do you think I should give this? It's a bit tricky. It's a bit tricky. You know, we have expectations of the kit, and then there's sort of reality. To be perfectly fair to Frog, Rovex Limited, I think the expectation was pretty low, and it's quite nice, really. For a little kit, it's quite decent, you know. We've all seen much worse than it, haven't we? Much worse. 19p. Is that what it really cost? Hey, 19 pence. Look at that. Well, I'd say for 19p. Sold! I'll take it! I'll take my money. 19p. That's worth 19 pence of anybody's money today, isn't it? So, I'm going to give it... I can't make excuses, I can't make allowances for the fact that it's a Frog or anything like that. I think I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. I think that's actually quite decent. It's a little bit lacking in detail, of course, and there's a bit of flash on it. But it's very easy to follow the instructions. You know, a youngster could pick that up, and you know, if I was literally going back in time, if I was 8 or 10, I could make that in a day, no problem at all. No problem at all. So I think 8 out of 10, I think that's quite a reasonable score, and much higher than when I picked it up. I thought, oh, Frog, it's going to be 4 out of 10. You know, no, it's actually quite nice. It's got a nice bit of artwork as well. What's not to like? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Found it a little bit different, especially with the Frog kit. Anybody else has got any of these? What's the one that I had that was Frog? I had a Spitfire, but I also had a Spitfire Mark 9, I think it was. And I also had was it a Tempest? I think I remember, or Typhoon, I can't remember. I'm sure I had a German one as well. I think it may have been not an ME262, maybe Maybe an ME109, I can't remember. ME109E, I think. Anyway, that's got 8 out of 10, which is actually a good result. Hope you'll give me 10 out of 10 with a thumbs up, please, by smashing that like button. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have, make sure you're ding the notification bell to get early alert on any new video coming up soon. And there will be more along in the not too distant, I am sure. We've got a couple of book reviews to do. So 1 or 2 books have come into my possession. 2 of them are audio books, and I've got another 2 that are, a couple have been loaned to me, and I've got a couple of a book on the Falklands, another one, which is quite an interesting one. So we'll talk about that all in the fullness of time. In the meantime, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it interesting. Until next time, please take care, look after yourselves. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.